Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. The People's Democratic Party has been involved in a long and hard soul search ever since it lost Nigeria's presidency in 2015. Its successor in office, the All Progressive Congress, led by President Buhari, has been single-minded in blaming the PDP for virtually every misfortune in Nigeria, going back in time. Recently, a pro-government group here in the Southwest called for former President Olusegun Obasanjo to be put to trial for allegedly misappropriating a certain $16 billion earmarked for the development of the country's power sector. For a conversation around this and so many other topical issues in Nigeria at the moment, we now have with us Chief Bode George, a retired naval officer who was military administrator of Ondo State in southwest Nigeria during the Babangida regime. He's also a ranking member of the People's Democratic Party, former national vice chairman of the party, as well as a member of the party's board of trustees. Chief Bode George is here primarily to tell us whether or not the PDP has been adequately engaging the Buhari administration on issues of national peace, security, and integration. Chief, good to have you again on the morning show.
Welcome to the program, Chief.
It's always my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, but before we talk about the PDP and the role of the opposition at the moment in Nigerian politics, there's something topical that is going on.
Yeah.
And given your background, I would like to take advantage to put that question to you. This rift between the Nigerian army and the police is not new. But this time around, we have a case of the Nigerian army gunning down 3 policemen, 3 civilians who were informants to the police, and the police alleged that they had gone to arrest a notorious kingpin, and they had handcuffed him. But the soldiers came to rescue this kingpin, and up to this moment, nobody knows the whereabouts of that alleged kidnapping suspect. Why is it so difficult for the police and the army to work together?
I am also shocked because, you know, there is what we call aid to civil power. The military is hardly on the streets of our country, except there are, you know, directives from the Commander-in-Chief to release them into the streets. And there is a standard operating procedure we call the aid to civil power. If there is a police operation for internal security and the police cannot cope, they will report to the Inspector General of Police that they cannot cope. And he will now go to the Commander-in-Chief to explain that, look, we are limited. We believe that this operation should be handled by the army. Now, the Commander-in-Chief would then give directives to the hierarchy in the military, make sure that they give the support. There is a process of taking over the operation, which means all those who are supposed to know will have the advantage of knowing. But, and once the operation is over, and it's a short run, it's not a perpetual one, and once it's over, you do like a reverse procedure to getting it back to the police. So it is a standard operating procedure. I don't know how there will be a stingy operation by the IG, and the commissioner in the state will not know, and the executive governor will not be in the knowledge, so that the security meeting, you know, in the Security Council meeting, he has the Director of State Security, he has the Commissioner of Police, and he has whichever military unit that is there. They all attend. That is the essence of it. So you keep them in the loop. And if you don't, I don't want to start throwing tantrums all over the place, but let us wait and find out what went amiss. Why should the military not know that there was a stingy operation to arrest this? What were these military boys doing on the streets? It's mind-boggling for those of us who spent a good number of years of our lives in the military. And Is it a state of confusion? What is going on? You can see now that the defense, the chief of defense staff, has gotten himself involved. The commander-in-chief itself has instituted an investigation panel that involves everybody. So let's know, so that such a silly mistake should never, because in the real sense of it, they are all working, they are all supposed to work hand in glove for the safety of lives and property of this country.
Well, one of the steps that has been taken by the defense headquarters is to issue an advisory to soldiers to say, well, soldiers should be careful with policemen, and that if they are on a travel pass, they should wear mufti. What do you think of that measure that has been taken? Because it looks like now the soldiers are afraid of the policemen.
It cannot be. You know, one of the first lessons you learn in the military, once you report for training, you hear the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Navy, the Nigerian Air Force. But the police is the Nigeria police. So their roles are different. The concept of operation are also different. And so when you now want to pitch the police against the military, it is hell. And I don't think there is need for them to, they should work hand in gloves. Whatever happened in Taraba will be investigated. I don't expect any policeman to cock his gun to a soldier in uniform. He will be riotous. And we should please, everybody is on the edge on this issue. We are getting a little bit, and I want to plead, like they say in the local parlance. In the north, they say kadankada. In the east, they say wayo wayo. In the west, emusuru. What is going on? What is going on? We are to work together in one unit for the betterment of our nation. Not to start. If we now have any cross-border war, what happens? What happens? The issue of the armed forces, their roles are well defined. The police roles are well defined. There should be no crisscrossing of ideas that will pitch one against the other. I believe that those who are now managing the security outfit should sit up very quickly. And I have absolute confidence in the armed forces, and the quality of our people. And this IG is a very razor-sharp fellow. So what is the friction? Is it down the line? What is going on?
It's very heart-wrenching for a lot of citizens right now, because there seems to be no single answer to this situation. But what's also worrying, Chief, is the fact that this administration, especially during this term, seems to be turning to the military a lot. When we had problems on our highways, when our highways were seeming insecure, the first response was to put the military onto our highways. This was covering our national newspapers. Everybody was asking why. When we had protesters exercising their free right to protest, #RevolutionNow, the next thing we're seeing, once again, is that the military have been put out for these protesters. What is the problem here?
That's what I'm trying to explain. Once the police review their operation and believe that they cannot cope, they report straight to the Inspector General of Police, who will go to the Commander-in-Chief. Sir, we cannot cope. That's when the military can be deployed. I don't believe that every little itch anywhere that the soldiers would on their own head out to the streets. You may not know why they are being asked to, but that is the background. There must be a reason. Maybe the police cannot cope.
Shouldn't we worry, sir, if our police cannot cope with our highways and our protesters?
It depends on the depth of the operation. you are not too sure whether those people they are encountering there have are more in number or they are well equipped with weapons and all that. And so they require the military because we are trained to deal with enemies. But the police is trained to be friendly.
To throw tear gas.
Not only throwing tear gas, but they should be the friend of the people, except when you are a criminal. You know, and there is a procedure of dealing with you, not ruthless dealing. Because for us, if you go out for an operation and your colleague, your comrade in army is shot by your side, you know what drives your adrenaline to the highest? That you could be the next. So our training, you know, concepts are different.
It's better to be judged by 12 than to be carried by 6. That's the military code.
Absolutely.
But the point here is that increasingly we see the military being used to do police work. We even have soldiers now mounting checkpoints. And they also have started collecting tools like policemen. What is the implication of this for professionalism?
See, I believe the buck stops at the president's table. Oga should look at it. Who gives the directives to deploy? It's the only one. For you to see any soldier on the street on any official duty must have been approved by the Commander-in-Chief. He does not second guess it. He does not give that right to anybody else because we have only one Commander-in-Chief. So it depends on the report. It depends on the assessment of the situation. And like I said, we call these special operations aid to civil power. You know, and if it is getting more, and you are now seeing the army more, then it means that there is a complete breakdown of the outfit from the police.
Chief, we'll take a short break, and then when we return, we'll then begin to discuss politics.
Still with us in the studio is Chief Bode George. Thank you, sir, for being with us today. Now, let's move on to discussing matters around the PDP, or party, the People's Democratic Party. And I'd like to start off with the elections of this year and your analysis of the elections. How do you think the elections went? Where do you think the PDP went wrong?
You mean the last presidential?
The 2019 presidential elections.
I believe we are yet to be convinced that we lost the election. So it is, if I need to go into the details, I may be incurring some wrath from the judiciary because we are now before the courts. And if you are not satisfied with the results of the election, the next thing to do, don't take laws into your hands, head to the courts. So we are in the court, believing that justice will be meted out. And we believe we won that election. And we're waiting for the Court of Appeal and then the Supreme Court, if we don't. And I'm sure even if the Court of Appeal pronounces that Article 1, I'm sure the APC will also head to the Supreme Court. So it's still some kind of a long route for all of us.
Well, shortly before the presidential inauguration on May 29, you had a press conference in Lagos where you said our nation is not at ease. Has anything improved since then? Have you seen anything that you think will make you review that assessment of the Nigerian situation?
You know,
particularly in terms of the style of the man you call Oga, whom we call President Buhari.
Yeah, he is my Oga. You know, once in the military and you have a boss, he's always your boss, and give that respect. It's part of our own culture. Now, honestly, I'm getting worried. And this is not politics now. It has nothing to do with Party A or Party B. It is now a national tragedy. It is now a national concern. And this issue of insecurity. And when you hear what goes on now between the security agencies who are so prosecute, the operations against these hoodlums. Then you sit back. I'm in my mid-70s, and I'm wondering, what is going on? It has nothing to do with PDP versus APC or any other political party. We all committed Nigerians should be involved in this. And I made a suggestion that the Commander-in-Chief, if I was a staff officer, to write my own suggestion to the problem, is that there should be a national dialogue. The gorge between the tribes are widening. There is so much mistrust now amongst various tribes of our country. These are the tribes that make up the rainbow. The strength of our nation was built on the camaraderie in the tribal settings. But now, the mistrust, you are not too sure about even your tribesman, you are not sure who is eavesdropping on what you are doing. And everybody is on the edge. So that's why I said it has nothing to do with, party A or party B. It's a national tragedy. And Oga should call for a national dialogue. He doesn't have to leave it on to somebody else. Because to somebody else, it means he's still not accepting that there is a problem. If he calls, for example, all the state governors, they're the chief security officers of their states, right? Now, they know who and who can be invited for such a national meeting. 2-3 days, the president himself will be he will be there to listen to these people. It will be like a feedback. If I had any opportunity to, that's my recommendation to whoever is there, because it's our nation. Those who are being kidnapped, those who are being raped, those who are being murdered, they are not card-carrying members of any political parties. So it could be anybody. So it calls to question, what are we doing collectively as a country? And I believe the time is right.
But in Nigeria, we are always holding dialogues. We've had all kinds of committees of inquiry. We've had political conferences. We have all kinds of documents on all kinds of issues at the heart of the national question. But we just talk. Nothing happens. What is the guarantee that another national dialogue will solve the problem?
The point is this. It is better to judge than to war. Look at Syria today. Look at Sudan today. Look at what is going on in Hong Kong. Is that what we want? Whether you are rich or poor, you won't be at peace. Let us come together. Let it be shared by the Commander-in-Chief. Let him listen as a feedback from the people, whether they are talking the truth or not. Now, as the chief security officer of this country, he will know whether those security reports that have been coming are genuine or not. Yes, this issue of, the herdsmen have been, killing and maiming and raping and, now you start to wonder. The herdsmen, since I was a kid, and I said I'm in my mid-70s now, is this the first time they have been driving all the cows down south to sell their cows and make their money and go back again, make their business? And when I was young, after selling all their cows, they sell even the urine, which we call agumudadani. And in those days, in my younger days, there were no electric cookers or gas cookers, firewood. And in every kitchen, at least I know in my area in Lagos, that you have the bottle of this
cow urine.
It was when I got to secondary school, I realized that that was ammonia. Because in those days, you had so many children who suffer from convulsion. And once they bring the bottle close to their noses, you see them springing up. We didn't know what it was, but we bought them from the Malams. Now, so we had established a working relationship. Recently, I was told that some of the Fulani people who visited the Papa President Obasanjo in Abeokuta told him that the gentleman, the Fulani man, that he was his third generation from Osun State, that his great-grandfather came to Osun, settled there. He doesn't speak Funfude now. He doesn't even speak Hausa. He speaks Yoruba, and his wife is a Yoruba, but he's a Fulani man. Now, so what are we doing to ourselves? What is going on?
Very important questions, and what's interesting or what's also worrying is that while we have problems going on with our leading party, what the people would hope is that we would have strength in our opposition, because the opposition is the driving force for the people and the voice of the people when you have a leading party. But it seems as though the PDP has had too many issues this year, and back to back, it's always one thing after another that is curtailing or stopping the PDP from being as strong of an opposition as it should and can be. How do we start to focus on this as an issue and also make the necessary changes within the party that the people need to see coming out of the leading opposition?
Now, you know, what is interesting is we were in power continuously for 16 years. And by the time we lost power, Ruben, too, you were there with us.
Yes, sir.
You saw what happened. So we went into a state of shock. And then from the state of shock, we are still in a state of flux, trying to find out what is going on. And of course, some of your members, you know, the people you call flash politicians.
Yes, sir.
You know, they are always on the greasy side of life. They don't want to see the other side. Have been hopping out. So one, you know, you must be able to hold the center. And we are doing a serious appraisal. The managers are trying. But, you know, once you are in opposition, you need the guts to be able to marshal your points without causing any security breaches, without abusing anybody, because to me that is not the way to fight in the opposition. And so you have a confusing state of affairs where some that said, okay, you are the only one that knew how to do it. Now you have done it. This is the way it is.
Well, Chief, we'll take a short break again, and then we'll come back and then continue. Welcome back to the morning show here on the Arise News channel. Still with us in the studio is Chief Bode George, a member of the Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party, former governor of Ondo State, and a PDP chieftain. Let me put it like that. I almost used the word godfather.
No,
before we went on break, you were talking about the PDP moving from a state of shock to a state of flux.
Yeah.
State of appraisal.
Yeah.
Now, how long will that appraisal take?
No, we are almost settling down. You know, because everybody is looking towards the judiciary for adjudication. Now, once that is done, we know where we are. We win, you know, the concept will be different. If we lose, the concept will also be different. And we will now go back, because in 4 years, we will be ready for the battle. Right now, it's like, you know, you have the husband waiting for his wife to be brought into the house. You know, in those days, you don't even know what kind of wife. You wouldn't have met her. It's the family members, who would have done the conceptualization. And then you are there waiting. Is he green? Is he white? Is he yellow? Is he black? Is he what? So we're waiting for the end of the judicial process. Once that is done, we have the resilience. This party has what it takes. But I believe that our being careful, waiting, is not a sign of weakness. Most elections that we had done recently, you know, we proved our mettle.
Well, most recently in Bayelsa State.
In Bayelsa State, we won all the local government councils there. And so it's not over. You know, like I said, and it is a natural thing. You know, when you are hit by a thunderbolt, when you didn't expect it was coming, it takes you time to get back. And before you start, you know, actively fighting, you would need to do what you call a post-mortem analysis.
The Chief, how optimistic is the party, the PDP, about the case before the Presidential Election Tribunal? And why is the main protagonist in the whole of this the presidential candidate of the PDP, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar? Why is he off the radar? We only hear that he's in Dubai, Everybody goes to Dubai to visit him. Is he on exile?
Seemingly.
No, not at all. You know, sometimes, you know, in the wise council, because recently, you know, two of his boys were picked up, all right? So, I don't know, but, you know, the world is now a global village. You can do whatever you want to do at any location in the world at the twinkle of an eye. So, I can't talk on that basis, but he's completely still the leader of the party and is in touch. The managers of the party are here, and they are still doing their utmost to make sure that the party remains a formidable party, and we will give a good battle to the party in government come 2023, because the activities of the present government will be taken before the Nigerian populace. Are you satisfied with their operation, or you are not? And that is the deciding factor. And then we can even, you know, say to them, our own 16 years plus these 8 years, can you compare? Have you been comfortable? What is your business activities like? Have they created more jobs? What is the state of the education sector of the Nigerian economy? And I'm happy, recently I read where the president himself said that the issue, there are 3 major issues. But there are more, but he mentioned 3. The public health, the state of the education, and the unemployment of the youth. These are the things causing a lot of agitation. So they know. So we need a solution. He himself, whatever he's doing, will still be looking across his shoulders what the judiciary will do. We are quite confident that we will do it, but we will await that day. If it doesn't come, we will settle back and start preparing. But if it does come, we have our own plans.
Thank you, Chief. Now, I'd also like to talk about a matter that we don't seem to be getting answers on. And I say this because the person I'm speaking about is a member of the PDP. This is Senator Elisha Abbo. Now, a couple weeks ago, this is a senator who had a video released of him abusing a woman in a sex toy shop in Abuja, and then we were told that the Senate has set up a committee. We were told that the case was in front of the courts. On this particular show, I've asked 2 senators of your party about this case and one of the APC, and we are not getting any answers. But my question is, how is it possible that pure evidence can come out posing this man as who he is for what he did, and the party in itself does not have an immediate reaction or revocation of any sort of position that he holds within the party. The party itself is not the ones coming out and giving the public that assurance and those answers that, hey, you know what, no, we are not going to accept having a man that is clearly a physical abuser and probably even more as a member of our party holding a Senate position. It's an international embarrassment and a security risk.
Now, let me put this succinctly. The party, since he's an elected senator, and the Senate itself has set up an inquiry, let us wait for the report of the Senate. The party would have put him on notice because you cannot prejudge it. Yes, you said there are evidence, there are this, there are all kinds of things. The party will await. There are, disciplinary activities that will go on. And they may eventually either suspend him if he's found guilty or give him a warning depending on the reports.
But the report, they were given 2 weeks, Chief, right? This Senate committee was given 2 weeks. This is way past the 2-week deadline. Shouldn't the party also pressurize the Senate to come out with their investigative reports?
You know, there are 3 equal branches of government, 3 co-equal branches of government: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. You don't try to interfere with their activities. The only time the party can ask, if they come for a meeting with us, like the Board of Trustee meeting or a National Executive Committee of the meeting of the party, then they can ask what is going on, who is doing what, and that. So the party cannot jump gun and start to say, you are fired. He was elected on the platform of the party. We are all interested because if his behavior is confirmed to have been unacceptable in a civilized setting, the party reserves the right so that you don't bring in on board a behavior that is unacceptable in a civilized society.
Chief,
I don't think it's a problem.
Let's talk about the PDP in Lagos State.
Yeah.
When I wanted to use the word godfather earlier on, you are the acclaimed godfather of the PDP in Lagos State. But whereas, to use your expression, the PDP may be in a state of shock, state of flux, engaged in appraisal at the national level. Now, what is the situation in Lagos State? It looks like the APC has successfully overwhelmed the PDP in Lagos State, and it looks like even the PDP that you lead in Lagos State, you have so many people, a lot of division. What efforts in terms of appraisal and reconciliation, is the party engaging in?
I told you that once you've been on the highway and you are at top speed, in your subconscious, got to be careful and don't expect that you are now at a cruising level and nothing can happen. You can suddenly hit a roundabout, a bump. And so the party situation in Lagos, you could see, like I said, you have those who are like a political, prostitutes who hop in and wait only on the fringes of what I can get from this and not what they can put back in the party. You've seen some people now heading back to where they came from, heading back to the APC. But let me put it this way. My observation has been that the procedure for our election, the INEC itself, is not healthy. If we continue with this procedure of elections, there were so many manipulations so many errors because of the methodology adopted by the supervising agency for election. Look, I witnessed the French elections. By 5:45 in the evening, the results, that were coming out. By 9 o'clock, that lady called Macron.
That's Marie Le Pen.
Right, Marie Le Pen called Macron to congratulate him. Sealed. Yeah. You are still manually from your polling unit to the local government collation center, then to the state collation. You had all these stories at the judicial sitting where they are saying, no, we don't have any server. We don't have it. This is 21st century. This is 21st century. It is a disgrace. I believe at the end of the judicial decision that the whole process must be overhauled. Where you go, you press, nobody can alter the result. Now, the present procedure gives somebody who has so much money, and you know what happened, with a bullion van driving into the leader's house, broad daylight on election day. So you see the field. Yes, there is poverty in the land, but let the will of the people be respected. And this is why, if you know that these people voted for you, by Jove, you make sure that when you get there, you will serve the people, so that in 4 years, when you go back to them, they will still be able to say, yes, this man really worked for us. And we are, because when you go and do an election, you're asking the people, trust me, I will represent you. I will make sure that I do everything humanly possible for you to utilize the resources for your benefit. And if we're talking about, there's so much poverty in the land. They didn't win that election. Well, you saw the difference.
On that note.
No, so when people talk about it, we will need to, partly in discipline and lack of commitment on the part of a lot of people, and the other fellow is jostling
thank you very much,
the largesse. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this, Chief.